changing smiles, changing lives, because that is so powerful. I can tell you, so many people haven't smiled in years. So many people feel miserable because they can't go out because could be one missing tooth, one dark tooth. They have shame. Kids today feel shame when they're young, when they're losing some teeth and they don't understand why, or if they have very yellow teeth. When we look at anything which is super quick, it isn't made with the right intention. And I can tell you that with a lot of confidence. And the day that I finished her teeth, she couldn't stop crying. She looked in the mirror as if it was somebody else. And, years and years and years after, also her parents keep thanking me that I kind of gave her a youth that she was missing out.
How did you feel about it?
I feel like crying when you see that happen. What's really saddens me, Greta, is that I've seen dentists here suggesting veneers to 16-year-old kids. Why are we putting these patients through extra things that they don't need in their life?
Welcome everyone to NYDC podcast chapter 1. Hi Ajay, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you doing, Greta?
Good, thank you. I know you are a very well-known dentist, but I have some question for you today. First of all, why did you choose to become a dentist?
I became a dentist by default. It was never a choice for me. I wanted to be a cardiothoracic surgeon. It was in grade 8, I remember. I was seeing a documentary on BBC, and I saw a very moving moment in which there was a cardiologist or a cardiothoracic surgeon who saves a child's life. And the parents are so grateful, and there is so much emotion. And I said, that's what I want to do one day. I want to save lives. But living in the country that I did at that point in time, which is where I come from, India, the competition was very intense. So the first year I could only get into dental school. And I said, I'll do 1 year of dentistry because it has the basic sciences, and then I will switch to medicine the year after. And then when I went into dental school, we also had something called the dental materials class, where we started to play with wax and teeth and clay, and we started to do plaster molding and many things with our hands. And I said, this is a lot of fun. And at the same time, because we were doing things with the body, understanding physiology, understanding anatomy, I thought I'm still being a doctor. And to my advantage, I met some friends of mine who were in medicine, and I realized how difficult their life was and how much they had to spend time in the hospital. So I thought, with my interest in creativity and the things that I like, I think I'm better off being a dentist because I can have a good work-life balance. And as I grew in dentistry, I realized that I love it more than anything else, and the rest is history. So very proud and very glad to be a dentist.
How are you apart from dentistry?
As human as we all are. But there
I
is
can
a certain...
confirm it.
But no, there are things that I like to do beyond dentistry. I have very humbly and very gladly, I have 2 wonderful kids. So I'm a father to them. And it gives me great pride and joy to see them grow as beautiful human beings. So that's an achievement, I think. But I like to be a person who has interests in creativity. Even with analysis that we did for understanding personalities, I have realized that I'm extremely right-brained, which means that I have interests in creativity, in poetry, I romanticize everything I do. So if I was not a dentist, I would be a chef because I cook every day, almost. If I was not a chef, I might have been a photographer. So I would have done something creative for sure. So I love art. I love experiencing and traveling cultures. I love to experiment and understand different cultures based on food, based on music, based on, as I said, just the right brain works much more than the left brain. So it's somebody who's a creative person at heart, who likes to work with his hands in many ways, and who loves his family and friends.
And your kids want to become a dentist too?
So my kids didn't choose dentistry. And I'm really, in some ways, glad, and in some ways, not so much. I thought that I come from a family of engineers, and there was nobody pursuing medicine or dentistry. So it was quite a struggle to go through where I did in the initial phase. But I had the passion and the drive to do what I did. And so I'm here where I am. But I realized about my kids that they had different interests, and my son was more on the bent of doing engineering and computers, which he's doing now in the US studying. My daughter went to study history at UCL, great school, one of the best in the world. And she became a historian, and now she's moving into finance. So she's evolving as a person. And I also feel sometimes, and I've seen in my journey, where you have a second, third generation medical or a dental profession, if your kids are not so passionate about it, you can drive them nuts. And you can drive yourself feeling miserable that why are they not driven like you? So I think there is less pressure on the kids to perform that way. And in some ways, they could have taken over the job and learned very quickly because of the global approach that we have. They could have had a much shorter learning curve. So I guess some things to do with destiny, something with choice, and something by divine power. So I don't know.
From my experience, dentist always has no time. So how can you manage your time between dentistry and your kids as well, that they are living also far from you? How do you feel about
So
it?
my kids just left a few years back when they went to university. And as life and choice might have it, I actually spent more time than the average Joe or average father, I would say. And I'm not saying people who work from home, but as circumstances in life happens, and I'm very blessed that I had the custody of my kids after my divorce. For the last 14 years, I've more or less single parented them. I'm not trying to take any credit. I would do it if I had to do it again, but I love them to bits. And the fact is, I think when we say we don't have time for something, is because we have other things on our priority list. So if I had worked longer, would I have made more money? Yes. Would I have had a better car? Maybe yes. Would I have had a bigger house? Maybe yes. But then I wouldn't have the memories that I built with them. So for me, it was all about saying, what is enough? And I defined that quite quickly in my life because my father used to say some amazing things. And one of the things that he told me is, Ajay, you only become rich the day you think you have enough. So if you define your needs and you think that's enough for me and I live for other reasons, then you will not just pursue and follow and stress about money alone. You will have other things to look forward to in life. And he also used to tell me, build beautiful memories because later on you live by them. So I tried to spend time with my kids to build beautiful memories with them.
So about origin and construction. I know you were working as a successful dentist, but why did you choose to open New York Dental Clinic in Dubai?
So I'm very truly grateful for the opportunities that I had in Dubai, and I worked in a couple of practices before I started the New York Dental Clinic. And I have to say I was very fortunate to work in some amazing practices. I learned a lot. I met some amazing dentists and learned to work in a bigger team. But at some point in time, you have your own idea of your growth and what you want to do in life. And I realized that the core value for which I stood for in my profession was probably getting diluted in some way. And the practice was turning more corporate. And I'm not saying corporations are wrong. If there are systems in place, corporations can be good. But I just realized and I felt that there was dilution of what I think was good dentistry or responsible dentistry. And then I realized that I would like to take this vision forward by myself because it was different from where I was at that point in time. And I had a wonderful team of dentists and colleagues who I call my extended family, who I wanted to do something with, who shared the same philosophy and the same ethos, by which we still run the practice very proudly and humbly. And that's it. That was the origin of New York Dental Clinic, and we call it a clinic which does great and responsible dentistry. And that's what we stand for, and that's the core of the business.
Because I know you are working with still the same people that you start with. So how many years are you working together? How is your relationship also outside the dentistry?
Greta, you've been a part of some of those evenings out.
Yes, that's
So
true.
I think we have become like an extended family. And what tends to happen is not only the fact that you don't have to think and quarrel and have faith that I will be paid right, because sometimes economics and finances break relationships. We have gone beyond that. We've gone beyond the fact that we are trying to judge each other and say, is he a good dentist? Is he going to do the right thing for the patient? Does he understand what I'm trying to say? So we've gone beyond the point where we have sat down, we have talked beyond our ego, we've talked to work as a team. And I distinctly remember I was seeing this small little interview with the owner of Alibaba or AliExpress. And he was rejected from many
I saw it.
companies. And somebody said, "What is it that you do which is so clever?" And he said, "I'm not the most clever person. I have hired many more interesting, clever people. But what I do is I can bring them together to work as a team." So, what I think happened is that we all came together as a team to complement each other, to work with each other in synergy, because dentistry is not one discipline. Everybody does what they do really well. And we are all happy to give our patients to the guy who's going to treat it best at the office. So it's not a one-stop shop and one dentist shop for all your treatments. We are a small boutique practice, but there are specialties which we're very proud of. A lot of us are opinion leaders who lecture and teach. And to teach, you need to learn, right? So
Correct.
we are constantly learning, constantly upgrading our information. We upgrade our technology. We invest a lot of money in buying new equipment. But at the same time, at the core of any business like ours is the team that you put together. And I can say that we probably have, we actually have the best.
This is powerful.
Yeah.
And what was the biggest struggles that you faced at the beginning when you opened New York Dental Clinic?
I think the biggest challenge that I had was that I'm very right-brained. So my challenge in my mind was, if I'm running a business, how am I going to count the money? So I'm kind of dyslexic with numbers. And that's why, when we talk about aesthetics and beauty, I don't really understand how we can proportion everything in a golden proportion. I don't understand numbers. I understand what fits well on your face. I can see an emotion, but I can't see a number. When it came to starting the office, my biggest challenge actually was, who's going to take care of the numbers and the business? And I had realized very soon that I need to have a very good financial company in place who is going to do the maths or the accounting. So I realized that I need to have a good financial company which was going to do all the finance work. I need to have a tap on it, which I do. I need to have an understanding of what I need to be fair to my friends or colleagues, because this is business and friendship is different. But having said that, I just needed to understand how I can create that balance between my right brain and learning how to be a dentist. Couple of years, 3 years down the lane into my journey, I was a bit stuck. And I realized that I wasn't really seeing how we can grow, what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And for about a year, I was coached by a very lovely business coach, my friend Charika. And I started realizing that I need to start thinking differently. In some ways, not different from the DNA of the business or why we stand for what we do, but in how we can set systems to run the office more efficiently. We then also partnered with a wonderful company, Identium, which you're a part of.
Oh.
And they have been very kind, and they showed us some roadmap which we can try and elaborate on and see how we can, kind of reach people out and make them understand what we stand for. We're not trying to push too hard. We just want to be heard for the right reasons. And that was my biggest challenge, how to try and create something which is a business model, how to try and take care of the finance, how to try and take care of marketing, because all I was doing teeth.
Because at the end, you are an entrepreneur. So you are not just a dentist. This is very important for everyone that is listening us as well. You are a dentist and you are an entrepreneur.
Right.
And you need to deal with...
And I have to say that one of the biggest challenges I ever had was how I fired the first person I had to fire. That was a big challenge for me. Because sometimes people are not in line with your philosophy or the approach that you have. And it's nothing to do with those people. They could be friends with you. But at some point in time, the business aspect doesn't align. And when you have to say a hard goodbye, it's never very easy, especially if it's coming from us.
So also when you need to give a feedback, this is also a delicate part, especially
I'm
for
very
you.
honest and I'm brutal. So
yes,
that I think I can work around, because I don't tend to be rude, but I am quite honest. And, for me, what matters most is that we have to be an efficient team who has to do the very best for our clients. There is no compromise on this.
Correct.
So if somebody needs to listen to something which is a little bit bitter, parents always advise their kids only for their better. If they are not in a drunk state or abusive, but in the real sense of the word, that's what parenting is. So I don't think I'm very hard on anybody as such, but if I am, it's because we want the best for our patients.
Now I want to ask you a tough question. So what makes you different compared to the other dental practice here in Dubai? I know there is a lot of competition here. Don't tell me about the marketing side, the marketing version. Tell me exactly what do you feel, why you are different.
Um, Greta, I can just say that there are some very, very good colleagues in Dubai. I will never take it away that we are in a land of abundance. We have great dentistry here. I'm not trying to take it away. In fact, in a small city, we have some very skilled dentists. So kudos, and I give all my respect to all the clinicians out there who do good dentistry. But I sometimes feel that those good dentists are in different practices. So if I was to pick up A specialist, he's in one practice, and then B specialist, he's in another practice. And sometimes they are restricted by aligning themselves with only the lab that the practice owns, and they cannot experiment. They cannot say, okay, for this particular patient, I'm going to use another technician. They have to work with one person. So there are limitations within practices that I see. And they might not be, and they might be in line with what we stand for. But I think the two things that set us apart, and I'm not trying to say location opposite the Four Seasons or you come and park easy, which was the reasons why we chose the location. But I think what we really, really stand apart from is that we have a very small practice by Dubai standards, but we have a very powerful practice. We have very, very powerful dentists who are working there, who are authorities in their own field. They are icons of credibility globally. So the root canal specialist I have, Dr. Siju, the orthodontist, Dr. Firaz, Valerie, who's a dentist who's teaching photography in Latin America, apart from being in the gym. Caroline, who's my general dentist. Stephanie, who's a general dentist and is always on a course and trying to upgrade herself. Lali, everybody, Anvisha. All these people add a very special individual impact to the practice. And one of the things that I find that we do best is that we work together. It isn't ego that is making me take something away from somebody. We are contributing to each other's growth. And that is very, very rare, especially when you're not working on a retainer, especially when if I try to do some extra work here and there, I can make a little bit more money. But trust me, everybody in the practice will give the best person the job to do because he's good at doing that and that only. And that gives me great pride. If I'm traveling for days when I do for my lectures, it gives me great pride and it gives me so much solace that nobody here is going to not do what's not right for a patient. And that's always been my philosophy, what drives me. That's always been something that I've been very passionate about. And I can truly and really say, looking at the camera, looking in people's eyes, that we are a practice which really, really puts in the effort to be ethical and to do what we call as responsible dentistry towards you.
So now let's talk about philosophy and approach. What is your philosophy about cosmetic dentistry?
I don't think, Greta, it's just about cosmetic dentistry. I think it is whenever somebody walks into the office, and I can tell you that one of my junior colleagues, Valerie, sets an example of doing so because she, when she looks into and diagnoses a case, it is like she's reading their whole book of, records, and she's trying to examine everything very, very keenly and intensely. And why I'm stating her name is because she's the youngest of us, but she's taking care about everything to see and holistically treat somebody. And what I find is that we generally become like, let's say there's a car which has many needs, which needs repair for tires, for brake pads, for gearbox, for engine repair. And I go and say, I have a leaking radiator. The mechanic fixes it with something, with whatever, 15, 20 minutes and says you can drive. And then tomorrow I'm back in the garage. Then I'm back in the garage. So it's better to have a full diagnosis, to have a plan of what I need to do with this car, how I need to fix it from A to Z. And then based on my budget, my temperament, my priorities, I choose and do whatever I want to. And what is at the heart of the practice? And when we look at somebody, and we are not shy to tell you that this is not right for you, for your health, or for your mouth to begin with. And everything starts from the oral cavity, right? So my point of view is very simple, that when you come to our office, we are not giving out numbers because we want you to be treated. We will take your x-rays. We will spend time on you. We will do the diagnostic tools that we need to have, and we have the best. We will take all the photographs. We will check your bite. We will check everything that is needed to be checked to give you a complete global information. Not to tell you, oh, because you're here in pain, let's do a root canal. And then tomorrow I start telling you, you have 2 more cavities, you have 1 more filling. By the way, your bites very often, let's try and do orthodontics. But after the orthodontics, you're going to need some veneers. I see many practices doing that. Just trying to say, let me make what I can make today. But that is never our ethos. The principle and the way that we practice from the youngest to the most senior person who is seeing a patient when they walk in for the first time is that I am in charge of your health and your well-being. We are going to tell you what's good for you. We are going to introduce you to the best guys in the business for that particular job. You take it or leave it is entirely up to you. And I tell everybody in the office, please, when somebody comes, don't be shy. And they would be like, I don't think maybe he's going to go ahead with this treatment. It's been so many years. They've been neglecting themselves. And I said, that's okay. You don't have to be another one in the list who didn't tell them what's good for them. At least you will sleep with peace, and you will sleep in a way that you feel you did your best for the patient. And that's what it is.
And why did you choose to be focused on aesthetics?
So aesthetics, I think, is something that naturally came to me as a part of when I was learning and doing dentistry. Actually, I was very good at maxillofacial and oral surgery. I was a junior surgeon resident for a year. I was suturing the scalp. I was treating cancer patients with my maxillofacial surgeon, and he told me, you have gifted hands, become a surgeon. But, as they say about Spider-Man's uncle said to him, Peter's uncle, with great power comes great responsibility. And I think I felt like it was too much of responsibility. And I saw maxillofacial surgeons having to stay with hospitals, treat patients at odd hours. And at the same time, I was developing so much love for working with my hands and crafting something which was very delicate, minute. And I started working with resins, and I started working with color. And I thought it was fashionable. I thought it was very nice to have different colors being put into teeth and to try and see how they reproduce in nature.
I connected with creativity and your art side.
Absolutely. So it was more to do with the fact that I felt home when I started to create a broken tooth or create something out of wax which looked like a tooth. And I was very fast. And a lot of people used to tell me, oh, I don't feel like doing my assignment. Can you carve these teeth for me? And I was like, okay, here you go. So I was doing it very fast. So I practiced much more than I had to. But I think over a period of time, I also realized, and I felt somewhere in some way, that when I am able to comprehensively treat somebody, and when they have a good aesthetic outcome, it actually changes lives. And I even write on our social sometimes hashtag, I say, changing smiles, changing lives, because that is so powerful. I can tell you, so many people haven't smiled in years. So many people feel miserable because they can't go out, because could be one missing tooth, one dark tooth. They have shame. Kids today feel shame when they're young, when they're losing some teeth and they don't understand why, or if they have very yellow teeth.
Can you share with us one story that comes in your mind that really touched your heart?
There are so many stories. I think it's an everyday story.
One that make you cry.
I think it was one of these situations where there was a girl who had neglected her teeth a lot. And her parents were coming to me, and she was feeling very embarrassed in school and in college. She was being bullied because she had kind of freckled skin, but at the same time, she didn't have good-looking teeth, and she had certainly abused them by a lot of soft drinks and juice and whatever, unfortunately. And I took the step of doing her teeth very, very conservatively as much as I could, but I realized that if I don't do something with her teeth now, she won't have teeth till she's 30. And the day that I finished her teeth, she couldn't stop crying. She looked in the mirror as if it was somebody else. And, years and years and years after, also her parents keep thanking me that I kind of gave her a youth that she was missing out. And every time they come and they're like, oh, she's so happy with her teeth, Ajay, you did so well. It's been 10 years, but we feel so good. Thank you so much. So that gratitude is so powerful. And
how did you feel about it?
I feel like crying when you see that happen. Yeah, it's very powerful.
Do you think today dentistry is becoming more about business than medicine, or what is your philosophy about it?
So I think it's a way in which you approach dentistry. If you have a 50-year-old individual today who has a bad bite, who has got wear on their teeth, they're living well, no pain. They've managed to adjust with maladjustment, as we say. Um, but at the same time, it's not an efficient way to chew, eat, or live. And they have multiple other things that are coming along: gum recession, cracking teeth, etc. I think it is our obligation to tell them that yes, you can have invisible braces maybe today, but we can correct your bite massively just by changing the position of the teeth. People were shy to do that earlier. So people might say, "Oh, I'm 50 years old. Nobody said that to me. You're just trying to make money." So there's always a flip side to the coin and what you're looking at. So I think what is driven purely by health reasons can only be a form of medicine. And I always say to my clients that if I'm going to rehabilitate a big case, or if we are going to have multiple people come together to rejuvenate your mouth, my objective is how can I give you a healthy mouth for years to come? And the byproduct is going to be that you're going to smile better for the rest of your life. Do you get my point?
Yes.
So the drive behind what I like to do in aesthetic dentistry is actually that they benefit from a healthier, better mouth, better teeth, better gums, better ability to eat, chew, digest their food,
Better sleeping.
and psychologically feel better with the smile that comes along because they feel good about themselves. There are a few cases where, and people don't realize and understand that when even comes to orthodontics, for example, for children, a lot of times the orthodontist is seeing what is going to be the issue later on in life with the breakdown of teeth if they were not in the right position. But most parents feel we want to go to the orthodontist because he has crowded teeth and we want straight teeth. That's what the objective is. But what we are trying to pursue, what we're trying to achieve, what we're trying to gain and give is a healthy mouth for a lifetime. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But at the same time, there are some cases where it is not purely a health reason, but it is a vanity reason. Some practices very proudly promote that as their benchmark for treatment. We do natural veneers. I don't know which tree they bring them from, but there's no veneers in nature. We make them. But at the same time, and I do some cosmetic, so-called dentistry or aesthetic dentistry, which is purely aesthetic in nature. But I have also seen that when you do that, you can also improve function if you understand what you're doing. So as I said, if it is driven by function or by health, it can truly be something which is a medical aspect, or the greater aspect is the medical aspect. And your point of view is that it is becoming more of a business, and I see in some cases, sadly, yes, it is. I have noticed that.
And you mentioned veneers, so I read about it online. Most of the time, they said also they can damage your teeth.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to reply to this comment?
There is nothing, and I call it when people say that I have been to a dentist and they said we can do some bonding, we can do some no prep veneers where we don't touch your teeth, we put something on your teeth, and we can do what is called reversible dentistry. So if you don't like them, we take them off, and you are the way you are. Take it with a pinch of salt because it's all bullshit. It is all bullshit. There is no reversible dentistry.
Can you explain a bit better for someone that doesn't understand?
Of
What do
course.
you mean about reverse?
What I mean to say is that some people go and say, I don't really like my smile. And the dentist says, we can do veneers for you. Just jumping without any treatment plan, without seeing what the patient really has or what we can do. We can cut the teeth, do veneers for you. And I hear that very commonly. Or we can do some bonding for you. And you say, why bonding? Because I don't have to take anything from your teeth. I just have to add something. But you have to understand that when you add any resin or any plastic material onto the teeth, you have to prepare the teeth for adding them on. So you're using mild acids. You then use special glues, and then you add some material. It is very difficult, if not impossible, to remove it exactly where it was. Or no, it's impossible actually. So you will take away a little bit of the natural tooth away when you want to remove it, in case somebody says, I don't like this, remove it for me. But what some dentists do is they sell it like reversible dentistry, that I can get your teeth back to where they were if you don't like it. So you don't have nothing to lose. You have something to lose. So be very prepared to see that there is no reversible dentistry. There are no prep veneers which are reversible. And you can only do no prep veneers, and I can tell you, after doing thousands for the last 25 years or 24 years, you can only do maybe 1 in 10,000 cases which is no prep. And I've done some, but it's trying to satisfy your ego and say, I have the best technician in the world and I can do something which is like a miracle. But most cases are not ideally suited for it. In most cases, you have to be very conservative. You need to preserve the top layer of the tooth. But at the same time, you cannot say that I can do miracles and we can do reversible dentistry. And I hear a lot of this, and it really saddens my heart.
And when do veneers become dangerous?
I think if there are a few reasons, and I will highlight them very quickly. If there is sometimes patients tell me that we went in, they prepared our teeth, 3 days later we had the veneers. And there's a lot of medical tourism, and Turkey is blamed for one of those countries, but I can tell you Turkey has some great dentists also. One of my mentors is from there, fantastic, phenomenal dentist, charges much more than me. But the point is that when we look at anything which is super quick, it isn't made with the right intention. And I can tell you that with a lot of confidence, because no matter how you plan something, you have to look at the gums, you have to look at the health of the teeth, the bone, etc., etc. I feel where a lot of people go wrong, and I can tell you big names in the business who have called us up and said, you don't need to do orthodontics to straighten the teeth. I can cut the teeth and finish the case in 2 weeks. And we're like, but how much tooth will you take away to do that? Because there is no space between the teeth. So if you are over preparing the teeth, which means if you're not doing under a microscope or magnification and taking too much away from the tooth, the teeth become weak and they become sensitive. And that for me is a failure.
And timing is important everywhere, because you mentioned that you are a chef as well. So if you don't follow the right time also when you are cooking,
yes,
for example, your pasta, your rice, it's not good.
Yes.
And the best chef in the world, they have the timing, the watch near them, no? They
when it comes to veneers or doing big reconstruction or any orthodontic treatment, I always say this is slow cooking. There's no fast recipe,
Best food, by the way.
Best food, by the way, absolutely. The traditional way. But from what I'm coming from to your question is, when do veneers go wrong? If you are going to very aggressively chop the teeth down, if you are not good with your procedures of how you glue them, if you're using poor labs and those laboratories are not giving you a good result by which you have plaque and bacteria accumulating between the veneers and causing sensitivity, pain, or bleeding gums, which is a very common thing that you see. And I think some veneers also have what I call an aesthetic failure, because there's no planning, because there's no discussion with the patient, because there's no simulation, because the patient doesn't know what to expect. There's a big promise gap between I can make your smile look nice and now this is what you have, take it or leave it. There should be no promise gap. And that's why we take a lot of pride in setting up a protocol where when you come to us, we explain how, in which way can we approach your teeth to be minimally prepared, just like with magnification. And sometimes it's so strange, but our patients even don't need temporaries because we don't take anything off much at all.
Yeah, because I saw a lot of pictures, especially from Turkey, unfortunately, with this slim teeth, which is
It's horrible.
invasive preparation.
It's absolutely
right?
horrible. So I think it's like, you should just scratch the surface with your nail like that almost. It should be that precise. And at the same time, many a times we would suggest some alternative treatment. Sometimes they don't even need veneers. Sometimes we just straighten up the teeth, bleach them, and that's it. Sometimes you just have a small gap and you just do some bonding, What's really saddens me, Greta, is that I've seen dentists here suggesting veneers to 16-year-old kids, suggesting veneers for people who have a little bit of gap between the teeth, which can be corrected in 4 months with invisible orthodontics. Why are we putting these patients through extra things that they don't need in their life? They don't need it. If somebody needs a whole mouth to be reconstructed, teeth to be taken out, we'll do it for you because that's the need of the hour. But I think over aggressive treatment with no planning is the biggest reason why we fail.
I think most of the young people that does veneers is because they smoke cigarette or drink coffee, so they want to cover permanently the bad color, let's say. What do you suggest to them? Like, if you do your veneers when you are very young, and then you keep smoking and drink coffee a lot, what they can do? How they prevent the failure of a veneers?
I can't say that veneers fail more or they do it because they have coffee or for whatever reason. I think we are consuming so much more coffee in the world, everybody should get veneers. But I don't think that is a reason. I think for some people, and we see that it was a bit of a fashion trend a little while ago where these chiclet white veneers were in, and you could see them from a mile or 2 miles or 5, like Burj Khalifa. You needed sunglasses. And I call them toilet white veneers or chiclets.
Yeah, me too.
And I would always tell everybody, this is really not good aesthetics because there is no color like that in nature. But what our minds are tuned to and what we have been conditioned to understand is white teeth means clean teeth. And it means a good, healthy individual. But I can tell you that the trend is becoming more realistic and reversing. I have some clients of mine, or a few or many, who want to remove those super white chiclets and want to have something which is bright but more natural looking, right? Which emulates nature more maybe than what their teeth were, but not as chiclet white as a toilet seat or a sink. But the point is that when you do veneers, you are less likely to stain your teeth because they have no surface energy. And that's why some people feel like if I have veneers, I will not have too many stains, etc., etc. But that should never be a reason.
And then internally there are
never. That should never be a reason to do veneers at all. In fact, if you have gum disease or if you're not taking care of your oral health, you should never have veneers anyways. Simple as that. So I would say first take care of your health. If you're on extra caffeine, extra nicotine, cut that off your system. And then talk about oral health and approach it in a holistic, healthy way.
So you're a member of a global organization like Style Italiano and ESCD. So what are these organizations and why you are involved with them?
Greta, my journey began with a group called Style Italiano about 14 years ago. It was 2 friends of mine, Angela and Walter.
Nice people.
Very nice people, who started this idea about educating people globally. And they handpicked some people who thought could share their philosophy. And initially, we started in a very small way as some clinicians who love to do our job properly, to try and share similar philosophy of practicing dentistry in a certain way. And I think it has been one of the biggest changing milestones, if I may say so humbly, where with the vision of these 2 gentlemen and with the group that has been a part of this journey called Style Italiano, and now we call it Style Italiano Family, which I will speak a little bit about. But it has been so instrumental in changing dentistry globally, period. That's it. You know, this group was the first one which offered free education online, which means we were writing articles, we were publishing cases, we were writing tips and tricks on how you need to do something over the years from different cases and different things in restorative dentistry, adhesive dentistry, or aesthetic dentistry. And each of us had a different flavor to add to the group. And in all, we were bringing about some very good high-end dentistry cases, but we were giving it to the community, the dental community, absolutely for free, which is still for free. So if you join and become a member of what I call the Style Italiano family today, which has been recently launched after many years of evolution of the group, which I'm very proud and humbled to be a part of, it will give you value like you cannot imagine. You have hundreds and hundreds of cases. You have simple tips and tricks which you find in daily practice that you can use, and it can change the face of what you do every day. So there is so much that you can take home and put into your practice the next day that's unbelievable. And to have that philosophy, to share it globally, to have 500,000 dentists follow you, who are, inspired by you in some way, or are even adding to this pool and adding
From all
value
over the
all over
world.
the world,
Yeah.
all over the world, absolutely. And it is so special. It is so heartwarming to see how it has grown as an organization, how it continues to evolve and grow, and how it can be so powerful as your encyclopedia for restorative dentistry on your mobile phone.
And now patients also can find dentists that are part of this global organization, Stile Italiano, through a doc locator around the world. And
Absolutely.
this make the group even powerful, let's say.
So, as you rightly said, Greta, there's a doc locator now, and it's going to be a very valuable tool where patients can choose dentists in their area in a particular place based on certain skill set. So, for example, if you go to my profile, I'm in Dubai, you can check that this dentist is a member of the group called Style Italiano, and there would be something written about you. So, on the platform of Style Italiano Family, we have a very special thing, like you said, where the patients can go to a doc locator, which means locate the doctor. And it essentially means that they can look into their profile, into their credibility, look into their specialization. And if some dentists are already posting something of credibility, they can actually view their work and what they're doing to increase their own value or visibility. It can really be a very effective tool for patients to choose the right dentist for what they want for their job. So I think it's a fantastic addition. Not only is it dentists following now, but patients can also follow the group. And for them, they can make a better informed choice on who's the best dentist for them.
If you need to summarize Style Italiano in one keyword, what do you say?
If I have to, no, I can't say a single word.
You need to find one.
I think for dentists, Style Italiano has been a miracle. It's been something which has led to so much.
And for a patient?
People don't realize that before that you had to pay, like me, I had to pay hundreds and thousands of dollars to get a DVD.
Mm-hmm.
Now it is open and it's for free, and you have to do nothing but click a button, be a member, and everything's available. So that is immensely powerful.
And for the patient that heard for the first time Style Italiano?
I think it's something new for them. It will take a little bit of time in terms of evolution. But what they need to understand is that if there is a Style Italiano dentist who is on the doc locator, go into his or her profile, check what they stand for, look at their work, and you will have a better chance of finding a good dentist for yourself than just randomly looking through the internet, for example.
Now let's talk about insurance, because it's a hot topic here in Dubai. Do you work with insurance? Do you prefer just private dentistry?
So, Greta, I don't really work with direct billing insurance because from what I understand and what I realize is there are limitations to what you can do and what you can't do. So what I realize is that A, we are only able to do certain procedures. B, I also know that they pay not at least our fair price for that process. And in doing so, what you would do is you would undermine the quality of your work provided. And see, what I find very strange in some practices is that they would charge a patient who is paying with cash a different amount of money, and they will do the same job for an insurance pays, what the insurance pays, with a different kind of money, saying that there's more volume, so I would charge differently. And I just can't get this around my head. Maybe I'm naive, maybe I don't understand the business. But from my perspective and my understanding, I don't want to cut corners to cut quality for you. What I want to do is give you the best at a fair price. And what I also see is that in practices where insurances are accepted, and I'm not saying everybody, but I know, for example, in some practices where insurance are accepted because the dentist is paid so poorly or they might reject something, we tend to overtreat sometimes. In the sense, I might need one x-ray, but I will do 5 because I can make money on the x-ray because it's covered by the insurance. Here, we are not driven to do that as such. We are very conscious of what we're making our patients spend and try and do what they have to do. If they have to do the whole mouth and spend 100,000, yes, for sure. If they have to spend not even a single penny, they shouldn't. It's as simple as that. So I think it's just being fair to ourselves for what we provide and to be very transparent in our dealing with our patients and clients. It is not that I stand for something else today and I stand for something else tomorrow. It just doesn't work in my mind.
Now let's talk about perfection and the result. How do you achieve the best result and the perfection per each patient?
There is no perfection in nature. I'm not perfect. I'm very human and I make mistakes every day. So I'm humbly accepting that I make mistakes. So I make less and less with experience, with knowledge, with upgrading my skill and information. And I never rush into any treatment. So what I like to do is I like to have a complete, detailed, deep dive diagnosis. I like to sit over it, understand it, simulate some kind of result that I can have digitally first. And then I call the patients in to do an analog test drive of what we're trying to achieve. So we first take something which is just data and we convert that digitally into some kind of 2D and 3D format. We then convert that into something that we test drive in your mouth and we show you what the result's going to look like and we fine tune it. So this takes time. And that's why I really can't comprehend and understand why you have quick fix dentistry and the whole mouth being done in 3 days, because there's no planning to it. Once you've achieved that and you've done a test run, sometimes you need to run this for a longer period of time, depending on the patient. Sometimes you need to refer to another specialist to treat before you would treat them, and you need to suggest that. But at the end of the day, when it comes to doing something which is aesthetic or restorative, diagnosis, digital planning, physical simulation, which means not only showing something on the photograph or on a particular application which makes your smile look better. And I have certain protocols and algorithms that are very much what I teach globally, which are unique to myself and my set skills and my learning and my ability to have less of a promise gap between what I tell my patients I'm going to deliver and what I deliver at the end. And then choosing the right materials and then choosing the right technician.
And have you ever faced a situation where the client wanted something that for you was a no, totally no, and you said to them, no, it's not possible to do it, or it doesn't suit you? And how was the reaction of the client?
So, Greta, this is a funny story. Initially, I started to feel like I was not being myself in some cases. And one of my very wonderful patients told me once, Ajay, I'm paying for my teeth. I know what I want. Get over yourself. I couldn't sleep that night. And I thought she was offending my intelligence. And the next day I woke up and I said, who am I? I can only suggest. But if they want, and this is not about compromising on health, it's probably suggesting something which doesn't look that white and they want something that white, for example, right? But at the same time, what tends to happen is that there have been some patients who I have not understood their mindset. They haven't understood mine. So there is going to be always a promise gap what we can deliver in. There sometimes is a suggestion for working at a certain price point that I just can't. So that becomes a factor to choose. Is he the right person or not? And for those reasons, we have said no to some clients and sent them to somebody else and referred or said, there's a better guy who's going to treat you. And today I feel that if I can't work with peace of mind and I don't understand you and you don't understand me, it's better to be treated by somebody else,
I totally agree. Even in my business, I have the same philosophy.
Absolutely. Sometimes we say that the energy walks in the door before you walk in. So you feel either you connect or you don't. And in medicine or in dentistry, especially when you come to invasive dentistry like implant surgery, or even just the response of your gums to veneers, I feel if you're not talking to them nicely or talking to the dentist nicely, something wrong is going to happen. So if you're not aligned in some way, and I think even spiritually, it shouldn't happen.
Otherwise, you will get problems maybe in the future.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there is no point.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now let's talk about the situation in Dubai. So how did you feel about the situation? How did you approach yourself in this situation and your clients as well, your patient?
So Greta, first of all, I can only say that Dubai is home to me. Dubai has been home for many, many years, and I see it no other way. because we are a country where there are so many expats living, we tend to feel this is not home. I strangely feel that if I have lived more than half my life here or close to half my life here, why can't this place be called my home? I also run a business which has given me so much in my life, and there are people that I'm responsible towards, which I refuse to stay away from in terms of responsibility. Yes, these are challenging times and testing times for one and all. I can never say that what is true is false or what is false is true, which means Dubai has seen some unprecedented, unfavorable condition towards itself, towards what's happening, and this war has been something nobody wanted. War is something which has come here uninvited, I would say, in many ways. And in having said so, it is what it is. And we have to say that with the kind of safety and security that we have been provided by the government here and the support that we get in terms of keeping us safe and informing us and taking care of us has been absolutely fantastic. You know, considering what's been thrown towards us and considering how much we have mitigated and negotiated and been able to ward off against has been absolutely spectacular. So it gives me a lot of faith and confidence that this place is still safe for me to stay here, and I will continue to stay. And I'm very sure once this whole thing is over, it's going to come back and thrive. It will take some time. Let's be realistic about it. But it's going to come back again because the fundamentals are there. People here who are from the country, which means the Emiratis, are always welcoming of people who come here and do good for the country and for the city. So there's been always open arms by which you can come in here. I also feel that in many ways we are given information that is necessary, but there is no panic. And that is also wonderful because false news can create a lot of panic, and they make sure that that doesn't happen. And I also
your
feel,
routine change, your daily routine and the
no,
practice?
we are still running the practice the same way. We have a few less patients for sure. We have a couple of colleagues who, for different reasons, have chosen to travel, but they'll be back soon. And everybody wants to come back. Nobody wants to stay where they are, which is great news. So I think some people who have traveled will eventually come back and things will start looking up to normal. And I think Dubai will come back with a bang and be stronger than ever before.